Hello and welcome once again to my vlog. When I was young, we used to see Disney, it's a small world, but today the world is really smaller than it ever was before. And I say that because I've been talking to more and more people out of Twitter, Facebook, and I think I can safely say that most of my, well, if not all, most of my friends today are people I met over the net. I'm going to talk today to a young lady who has an interest in Pakistan. I have no idea why. She lives in Cambridge. She's an author, a journalist, and a student, but she seems to have an uncanny interest in this part of the world. So Caroline Jaine's with me on Skype from Cambridge. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. I'm going to ask with a very, very basic question. Are you funded by the Secret Service or the agencies or whatever? What's your interest in this part of the world? Doing a project is fine, but learning the language, I need to know more.
No. Well, first of all, no, I don't know the language. I understand smatterings of Urdu from having spent time with Pakistanis, but I don't know the language.
Okay, fine. So you're not with the agencies then?
Yeah, okay, the agencies. No, which agency? Who would I be working for?
The MI4s and 5s and 6s and 7s and the CIAs and the KGBs.
All of them. No, none of them. I'm far too much of a big mouth for any of them to be interested in me.
All right. I asked you what would you like to talk to me about on this first show that we're doing, and you said, you know, how Pakistan is represented in the media, and that you said that's a topic close to your heart. Why is that? A, close to your heart, and B, how do you feel differently about the way it's being done?
I think it's a topic close to my heart. My professional background has been in media and communications, and I have a keen understanding of the role that media plays in development and resolving conflict, I suppose. And my interest in Pakistan came from a professional point of view. I did work for the British Foreign Office, not for any of the intelligence side of things, but in their out-facing media and communication side. And that's when I first started researching Pakistan and looking at the wealth of information there was about media and public opinion. I then had a bit of an epiphany a year ago now, over a year ago, and decided that I was going to follow my dreams and be an artist and become a full-time student. And I'm now studying fine arts at master's level at Cambridge School of Art. And I thought that would be the kind of end of my international career because as a diplomat, I've been posted all over the world. My interest is in Pakistan, but in lots of other countries too, like Iraq and Sri Lanka and other places that I've spent time in. But throughout my development as an artist, I began to realise that there was a little bit of unfinished business with Pakistan. And as well as developing my practice into becoming a filmmaker and painting and photography, I was also learning and researching through academia and very interested in a certain French philosopher called Jean Baudrillard, who wrote about the Gulf War and how it didn't happen and how it was viewed through the eyes of the media. And I began thinking how many of the things that Baudrillard had written about applied to Pakistan. And so I wrote an article for the World Bank. I regularly write for them. And somebody in the Pakistani media picked it up and asked me, would I like to write a regular piece for Dawn, for Pakistan news agency Dawn. So really that's where my closer relationship with Pakistan began. And then I did another art project which connected the city that I'm sitting in right now, Cambridge, with the city that you're sitting in right now, Karachi.
Okay.
And that project really has meant, you know, that my whole the whole dialogue and discourse around Pakistan has continued.
Okay, you said unfinished business, and you mentioned a war, a Gulf War, which never happened. Putting those two together makes me a bit nervous. Elaborate.
The unfinished business for me was I was tasked with in the British government with writing a strategy for how we communicate, how the British communicate with regards to Pakistan. And I really never felt that that was it was kind of completed, but it was never really taken on board by the British government. I felt adamant that if we continue to view Pakistan within the context of terrorism and corruption and all the negative things, that it wasn't going to progress either our relationship, Britain's relationship with Pakistan, nor was it going to help Pakistan develop or help Pakistan get out of some of the problems that it has. So that was kind of my mindset. How, as an artist, I've kind of translated that, and how, as a writer, it's a project in progress. But I've been criticised a lot with my writing for being a bit kind of saccharine sweet on Pakistan, and that I'll only look at the good things, and that I will ignore, the endless reports of corruption or, the rise in extremism in Pakistan. But I think, to be honest, there are a lot of journalists and people already doing that. I feel it's kind of, that seems to be the only prism that from the outside of Pakistan we view the country through, and I'm just not sure if that's useful.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question here. I face the same dilemma, that if you defend or may I say, promote the negative, you're seen very well. You're seen like a journalist. You're seen like a vigilante. You're seen like the savior. But if you try to see the lighter side or the better side of things, and if you try to promote the good, you're suddenly questioned as, what's your agenda? Why is that?
I don't know, and I think Pakistan, of all countries, I have never been met with such cynicism. Or by the conspiracy theorists. It's quite phenomenal, but I just guess you just have to keep going. I mean, and keep doing it. But every day my inbox is full of people asking me, like you've asked me, who's actually paying me. I get a very, very small amount of money from Dawn for writing.
Well, I'm actually not questioning your motives. I'm on your side, because I face the same. Because the moment you try to see the better side of things, it's like the global audience wants to see the negative. They want to see a problem. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we are a generation who has not seen a major catastrophe. We are a generation who has not seen the world wars or whatever, and we have sort of a liking for them. Thus our obsession with horror, our obsession with war, our obsession with negative news, and we just sort of mass consume negativity with a lot of pleasure.
I think I would actually, I agree that there appears on the surface to be an obsession with negativity, but I would actually argue that what news consumers want is drama. And there are some stories that aren't negative, that people enjoy, like the rescue of the Chilean miners, or, that are dramatic, good news stories. I think the mistake that journalists make is in thinking that to write something positive, it has to be quite nice and bland. No, not so. It has to be dramatic, as dramatic as the negative news. And I think it's a case of journalistic training, actually.
And you're okay with dramatization of news? You think that's perfectly all right?
Well, that's what news is.
Oh, God. Are we about to piss off, if I may use that word, all the journalists of the world, that they're drama queens?
Yeah, why not? I mean, and journalists themselves are very different. I mean, the journalists that I work with in Iraq were a completely different breed to the journalists that write celebrity gossip columns, So, they're all very, very different as there are people, I guess. But,
you authored a book about Basra. Tell me more about that book.
Yeah, I wrote... during my time in Iraq, which actually is, I left there 5 years ago this week, so it's quite a good time to be talking about it. I kept a diary whilst I was there, and it wasn't until I was called before the Iraq inquiry. In Britain, there's a big inquiry into the whole conflict, led by Chilcot. And I realised when I was giving evidence that I had been there at quite a special time and quite a dangerous and precarious time for the British occupation. So I decided to sort of start writing about it, and it took a few years, but it's just been published. So, yeah, it's called A Better Basra, which was the name of Tony Blair's plan for the city. So.
When you say a better Basra, do you think Basra is becoming better for all that's happened? I'm taking it in a direction which you may not want to go, but still, do you think the past, say, 10 odd years have helped the world in any way, or have they hurt the world?
Oh, there's two questions there.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm giving you room to get out if you want.
No, the first one about Basra, I mean, if you read the book, you'll see very quickly that my time there, I was there for 100 days. I didn't get out into the city at all. Such was the security situation. I stayed in what was Uday Hussein's former palace. That was our compound. The only way in and out was by helicopter at night. So I never got to see the city, which, as you'll see from the book, was a real problem when you're head of press and public affairs. So I can't comment very much on what Basra was like for a Baswari. At the time, I do know from journalist friends that the city today is improved, the security situation is improved, the economy is improving, but in fact, in a couple of weeks' time, at the launch of my book at the House of Lords,
well, that's superb.
In London, I've arranged a seminar where I've asked Iraqis to come and talk about whether it is better, and to have a discussion about it. So I'll report back from that. Well,
before you go to the second question, I would request if you can share the proceedings there with us. We'd love to show them on 24/7 online. If you can give us the videos, we'd love to show them.
I think the BBC World Service are covering it, but I'm not sure. So I'll certainly let you know about that.
Sure. So my second question is: the world better?
Is the world better? Well, I think, again, one of my favourite philosophers at the moment is Nietzsche, and I kind of don't see the world as better or worse than it ever has been. I think we always live with conflict and strife, in the world. We always seem to have. I'm stepping back and taking a massive holistic view of the place. I don't feel like I know enough about every single country, conflict, city to be able to answer that one. I kind of believe that there's some kind of balance in the world, and one would like to think that the world was improving. There are certainly some things that are getting better, but as one place heals, so other places erupt,
Well, but that would like the stock exchange, that you have a winner, so you have to have a loser. But when it comes to the world, you don't have to have an eruption while one part is prospering, because that seems to be the dilemma we're faced with. That theoretically, or if you talk about conspiracy theories, people feel that it's a part of the world trying to make their lives easier by making another part suffer. If there is truth to that, then it shouldn't have to be like that.
It shouldn't. I think I feel a tentative encouragement by some of the people act. I think one thing that's happening in the world that excites me most is how the individual is empowered. And most of that is through technology and through social networks.
I agree.
And I think that the potential there is actually beginning to frighten those that currently hold the power, the traditional power, the governments, the dictators of the world. And I think they're being shaken by that. Whether it's a force for good or whether it just means that the oppressors of the world will clamp down harder because they fear our freedom, I don't know. I think we're living in tremendously exciting times.
I fully agree with you. This is one of the most interesting times, I think, in history. Where, in fact, on my TV show, I was just discussing a short while ago that in the past, history moved at a certain rate. People evolved at a certain rate, but today, just the consumption of information is so tremendous that our growth and evolution is exponentially fast. But at the same time, the rate of decline is also very scary. It's not. I mean, we have the potential to hang ourselves at a pace which is unimaginable. We can destroy each other's economies. We can destroy each other's governments in a single statement, as we've seen in the past couple of weeks. The West versus Pakistan. Just the statement, the back and forth, has caused so much financial loss, so much, just the tensions we can build so quickly over internet is scary. So I agree with you. And here's a testimony that you and I are sitting here having this conversation. Two people who exactly, and we are disseminating views which was impossible, I would say, even 3 years ago.
I think, and just in terms of Pakistan, I mean, the potential for that. I mean, 180 million people.
Yeah.
It's only so long that you can read about corruption and things in your newspapers before, that 180 million people decide that enough is enough. I mean, it's fascinating times.
It's also 90 million young strong. I mean, it's not an aging country. It's a very, very young population. So
young and active, and what the rest of the world doesn't see, that I saw in Karachi in my brief visit there was how many young Pakistani people are actually, they care, and they're getting involved in social initiatives, they're getting involved in charities, they're helping raise money for flood relief, all these things. They're not just young people that are doing nothing.
Okay, I want to hear more about your experience in Karachi, and you did mention you went to Karachi University. But I want to take a really short break here, so just stay with me for a moment. Well, thank you very much for staying with us. I have Caroline Jaine in Cambridge with me on Skype, and we're talking about media, how the world is changing, perceptions in global media. Caroline, you said you have been to Karachi, and you were telling me offline that you went to Karachi University and found a very different people than you had expected. So tell me more about that.
Yes, I came to Karachi back in March. It was a flying visit. As I say, it was part of a film project which actually goes into the arts and various other initiatives too, that links Cambridge with Karachi. I filmed several people in Cambridge, business people talking about their businesses, and then I flew to Karachi and attempted to find their matches. So that there was personal common ground being shared. My trip to Karachi University was on my very first day. I think we'd flown in about 6 in the morning, and then by 9 o'clock we were at Karachi University campus. So it was very hot, and I was slightly rushed. But what struck me immediately was the girls and the boys, the students, all hanging out together, eating together. There is this perception that Pakistan is kind of segregated along gender lines. And what made me smile inside was that I'd been filming at a Cambridge University. Cambridge, as you know, is the best university in the world. Mm-hmm. And one of their colleges...
The Americans won't agree with that, but I agree with you.
One of the colleges there, Newhall, where one of my portrait subjects was talking, is a female-only college. And I just found that curious that, that was quite okay for us to have gender segregation in the best university in the world. And then to find in Karachi this kind of lively hub of young people who were keen to talk and very talented. I visited the arts and film department, and some very talented work coming out of that. And interesting that the leader of the film course said that the students that provided them the best content for their filmmaking were students that had come from difficult backgrounds. So I think
they have more expression and more to say.
Yeah, and I filmed him saying this. I made a film out of the process called Another Face, which you can see on my website, KarachiCambridge.com website, and he's talking about that. And it's true. I think that whenever you have adversity or problems or oppression, actually it turns around, and it ends up that these things are opportunities, things you can harness.
So, okay, my last question, or maybe the closing questions. Do you feel? I mean, you agree that that Pakistan is being portrayed incorrectly. How can that be changed? I mean, you've done a great job. I want to thank you on behalf of Pakistan that you are projecting a different and more objective first-hand view of what's happening. How do you think we can engage more and more people like yourself to be able to project the correct view of how things are over here and the potential we're sitting on?
I think one of the things is, well, there's two things. Well, the inward looking, I think Pakistan needs to look to itself a bit more for some of the solutions. But then on the other hand, I think Pakistanis can say, all the good things about Pakistan, but people on the outside will remain cynical about their motives for doing so. So I think encouraging foreigners and foreign people to visit and to engage with what's happening is really important. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think it would make a difference. I used to write for an organisation called Muslim Voices, which you might think sounds strange because I'm not a Muslim, but I was quite keen that people talk about Islam from the outside as well as from the inside, because sometimes those voices can be more credible. So, yeah, I would encourage people to open their eyes a bit more.
Oh, which is a catch-22, because getting people here is just as difficult as to, change their opinion. But I would request the world, maybe, that if you haven't seen it with your own eyes, at least don't propagate what you've just heard. Caroline, any closing comments for today?
Not really. Thank you very much for talking to me, and good luck with your new show.
Well, I hope you will be joining us on a regular basis, and may I invite you to start your own little video presentation on 24/7 online on a weekly basis, if not less than, if not faster.
I might do. It's a bit wow at the moment because I've spent my most of the past decade or two criticising the media, and now suddenly I found myself in it, so I have to be very careful. well,
like we both agreed, this is an interesting time, and these are instruments which we need to write. We can't just we can't let the others take it where they want. We have to put our share in. So, Caroline, thank you very much for taking this time out, and you have a fantastic Sunday, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show with us today, and keep watching. Bye-bye.